Commas are a punctuation mark that most of us use every day, but few of us know the rules for. And depending on who you ask, commas may have up to like 12 different uses, which is a bit annoying. But for the SAT, I have 4 simple rules you need to remember in order to know when and when not to choose a comma every single time. So let's talk about it. The first rule that you're going to want to have memorized for the SAT specifically is that commas can separate items in a list. And this is probably one that you're familiar with. An example of this would be something like, my favorite foods are ice cream, pizza, and mangoes. And here I have 3 nouns separated in a list, but just keep in mind that this can be a list of actions as well, or even adjectives. The second rule is that commas set off non-essential information. And I want to be clear here that when I say non-essential information, I mean that if you remove it from the sentence, you still get the main message from that sentence. So a great example is, the main sentence would be, eating is something we all must do. That is the core sentence here. But you can see I have a little comma sandwich, which is my favorite activity. So this comma sandwich is setting off this non-essential information that if we remove from the sentence does not break down. And don't worry, I'll give examples of all these on the SAT as well. Third, we have commas divide independent clauses with fanboys. And your fanboys are going to be your coordinating conjunctions. I'll go over those in just a moment here, but an example of this would be, I told a chemistry joke, but there was no reaction. So my first independent clause would be, I told a chemistry joke. My second independent clause would be, there was no reaction. And then my fanboy, the B in fanboys stands for but. So I have the word but, and then just remember that your comma is going to come before the fanboy. So you've got clause, comma, fanboy, clause. Finally, commas conclude an introductory word, phrase, or clause. And you know it's introductory because it comes before the subject of the sentence. So in my example here, my subject is Hermione. That means everything before Hermione is an introductory phrase, word, or clause. In this case, it's a phrase. It's just a prepositional phrase, right? After correcting my pronunciation. So after correcting my pronunciation, we get our comma, and then we get our main subject, Hermione. Hermione nailed the spell with ease. Going back to rule number 3, it is important that we know what our fanboys are so we know whether or not we can use this rule. So just a little refresher for you. The fanboys are going to be for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. And if you're fancy, you can just call them coordinating conjunctions, but I like to think of them as the fanboys. All right, so going over some examples, I want you to pause the video and try it on your own first, looking for those 4 rules that we just talked about. So moving forward, make sure to do that, but I'm going to go ahead and get into this one. Our answer with a comma is C, so let's actually start by seeing if that works. While one requires oxygen and one does not, comma, aerobic and anaerobic respiration are both forms of cellular respiration. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this because we have a dash, which means all of this stuff here is basically extra. So we have a comma at the beginning of the sentence, which means I am going to look for that introductory rule, right? And what was the introductory rule? If it's in play, the first thing after the comma should be the subject of the sentence. And indeed, aerobic and non-aerobic respiration, that's our plural subject for this sentence. So this one is going to be C, again, because we have an introductory phrase. So for each of these, I want you to, try it, but also identify if it does work, which rule is it using? All right, our next example here, looks like we've got A with a comma. And again, pause the video, try it on your own first. I'm going to get rid of all this because I only need to focus on the main sentence when it comes to punctuation questions. I also see an introductory phrase because we have our main subject, the team. So I can also ignore this. The team was able to determine how current-driven mixing varies across regions and what impact it has on the distribution of heat and nutrients in the ocean. So if we did choose the comma here, it looks like this question is kind of pointing us toward the fanboys rule, right? We've got the fanboy, and so we need need to check, do we have independent clauses before and after the and? Before the and, we have the team was able to determine how current-driven mixing varies across regions. That is a full sentence, yes. What impact it has on the distribution of heat and nutrients in the ocean? No, that is not a full sentence. It's long, but it's really just one big noun phrase that can be replaced by this, right? We're trying to determine this, and we're trying to determine this. And this is a noun, meaning all of this stuff is a noun phrase. We don't have two independent clauses, so we don't need a comma. And anytime we have two items that are separated that are not independent clauses, and there's only two of them, we don't need any punctuation. So our answer is D for this one. And I've actually got a bonus tip for you, which is to boop that like button for me. All right, next question here. We do have one long sentence, so I will start from the beginning, but immediately I'm seeing a dash sandwich that I can ignore. So let's start from the beginning here. This researcher, simplifying a little bit, this researcher developed a process for increasing the tensile strength of silkworm silk. By dissolving and reweaving the silk in a solution of iron metal ions, zinc, and sugar, Z increased the amount of force required to stretch it from approximately 0.5 GPa to 2 GPa. All right, and the reason I paused after the word silk, even though a couple answers don't have it, is, I'm trying to figure out if the comma works. And when I paused, I heard something. I heard the end of a sentence, and then I recognized that I have another sentence after that, because we have the full independent clause. This researcher developed a process for increasing tensile strength of silkworm silk. Period. And then we have a really big introductory phrase, by doing these things, comma, and then our main sentence, Z increased the amount of force required to stretch it from approximately 0.5 to 2. So we do have two independent clauses. We are not allowed to use a comma. That is called a comma splice. It's a big no-no. If you do it, I'm going to come and find you. I'm going to knock on your door. I'm going to tickle you. So don't choose comma splices as your answer. If you have two independent clauses, you need either a semicolon or a period. We get a period with choice D. Our answer is D. All right, looking at this one, I'm going to start from in 2017. I don't care about this first sentence. In fact, I don't care about it in 2017. The couple converted a vacant lot in the city into an apiary. And then we have either and or not. My thought is, if it's the fanboys rule, we do want and, so I'll read it like that first. The couple converted a vacant lot in the city into an apiary, and in the years that followed, they acquired 9 additional lots and established more than 35 hives. So the question is, do we have two independent clauses before and after the and? The answer is yes. The couple converted a vacant lot in the city into an apiary is a full independent clause. And in the years that followed, they acquired 9 additional lots and established more than 35 hives is also an independent clause. So our answer is B. By the way, at the time I'm recording this video, I am taking on new students. So if you are interested in working to prep for your next SAT exam, go ahead and use the link in the description to sign up for one-on-one private online tutoring lessons. All right, go ahead and try this one on your own first. But let's take a look. As per usual, I'm getting rid of the first sentence because I'm lazy and I'm trying to get as many points as I can as quickly as I can. The arrangement of the figures, according to Swenzel, represents her idea that we all come from Earth generation after generation. All right, so if we have a comma, which is choice B, what does that mean? Well, we have the non-essential information, right? The comma sandwich, because we have a comma right here after figures. So what we want to do is test it to make sure it works. If we get rid of according to Swenzel, what does it sound like? The arrangement of the figures represents her idea that we all come from Earth generation after generation. That does indeed hold up, doesn't fall apart. So our answer is B. As long as you remember those 4 rules, you will be good on the SAT, but you're going to need some practice. So to get some focused practice with English questions, go ahead and click that video up top. And if you want to learn more about punctuation, go ahead and look at the video on the bottom there.